I'm
So
a tourist,
you're a tourist. Okay, not from around here.
not from around here.
Okay. So to start these interviews, I normally try to avoid things like relationships, money, and jobs. If you like to expand on any of this, let me know. But
Okay.
I try to avoid those by nature. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Where are you from?
So I'm from right here in Norfolk. I was born at DePaul Hospital, about 2 miles from here.
Okay. And the interview is for what?
It'll be on the NFK Podcast, which NFK is an abbreviation locally for Norfolk. So,
NFK?
yeah, I like it. I think it's gonna roll off the tongue really well. The NFK, and we've done about 100. We've interviewed entrepreneurs, authors, the mayor of Norfolk, and also everything in between.
Okay.
Random people in the 7-Eleven,
That's me.
and tourists from what country are you from?
Currently Massachusetts.
Oh, the country, the country of America.
I laugh, but I'm really from New Jersey.
Okay, you're from
I'm
New Jersey.
retired. That's my work story. I'm retired.
Okay, so what do you spend the most time doing now that you are retired?
Um, Reading and hanging out.
Okay.
I turned 80, and I had a more active retirement in my 70s, but I slowed down.
So what does an active retirement look like at 70?
A lot more travel. Mm-hmm.
Farther from Massachusetts, or did you go to?
Foreign countries. Yeah.
Where'd you travel to?
Well, I've traveled through large parts of Europe and certain parts of Asia.
Wow, certain parts of Asia. I would love to get to the Philippines. That's where my family's from, but I've never been.
I haven't been to the Philippines, but every Filipino I've met has been really nice.
Me too. So, you said you do a lot of reading, is that right?
Yes,
What have you been reading? Have you learned anything?
I tend to read a lot of nonfiction,
Nonfiction. Okay, so true stories.
true stories. The book I'm currently reading is um, A Short History of Everything.
A short history of everything.
A Short History of Everything. It's kind of a story of it's a history of science and how science has evolved over the last uh, 200 years or so.
Could you expand on perhaps how it has in fact evolved?
Well, the book is mostly a history book, so it talks about the personalities, the people who were involved, and how they came to find what they found, and how there were a whole bunch of near miss people who found the same thing but didn't find it in the right way, so they were never recognized. It happens a lot in science. You discover something, but if you don't publish it in the right way, then somebody else scoops you.
Just to claim that I figured this out. I discovered this.
Yep.
Do you happen to remember any of those specific examples?
Um, well, some of the classic examples are Watson and Crick found DNA using Rosalind. It's embarrassing. I can't remember her last name.
So Watson and Crick, they discovered DNA, or that's who's been credited with discovering DNA, right?
Discovering DNA, and they basically swiped Rosalind someone's data, who had all the data there, and it's crystallography data, which is a complicated thing to interpret. And they scooped her, and she should have gotten the Nobel Prize with them, but she didn't.
Wow.
That's one standard example of somebody who got swiped.
Okay, we'll have to look that up after the show. We'll figure out who got swiped. Maybe we can credit them.
Who Rosalind was, yes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I have no idea how long ago DNA was discovered. Was that?
1952.
Oh wow. So okay. I'll be honest. I thought it was more recent than that. I thought it may have been just before my lifetime.
Well, I was
Bit before.
I was in high school then, and I think I was in high school. Yeah, something like that.
So
No, I was in elementary school. I'm sorry, I was in elementary school, and I had a cousin who was a scientist. And when I was in high school, he asked me if I'd taken high school biology, and he asked me whether they talked about DNA, and I said, "What? DNA? What's that?"
you know what I think is really interesting. So I don't mean to comment underage, but since we're speaking about the 50s and things like that, I interviewed a gentleman who told me that we were talking about dinosaurs, and I was like, okay, what was your favorite dinosaur when you were a kid? And he told me that children his age didn't know the name of any dinosaur because it wasn't like pop culture at
Right.
that point.
It was not pop culture.
Really? Okay, so you can
Oh yeah,
agree that that's
absolutely. That's true. It wasn't pop culture. I lived near New York because I grew up in New Jersey, and the Museum of Natural History had all sorts of dinosaurs, and we used to go over and look at them, and they all had these really long names,
right.
and they were not pop culture. It just wasn't. It was there, but it wasn't. There were no cartoons of dinosaurs
It was
outside the Flintstones.
no Jurassic Park, no anything like that. And I get we also have like abbreviations now. So we have a T-Rex, but less people. I'm sure a lot of people now know, but Tyrannosaurus Rex is like a mouthful.
It wasn't there.
Right.
It was just big dinosaurs because they didn't have all the classifications down as well as they have them now.
Right.
And they were just a bunch of bones, basically, because they couldn't put skins on them yet, really.
Exactly. Wow. So back to your story about scientific discoveries being nabbed or discoveries. I heard the same thing about the Wright brothers, I believe, with the airplane.
Oh,
Was that in there?
not yet. I'm only halfway through the book.
Well, I haven't read the book you're reading, but I heard a story about a less than air, a heavier than air flight was conducted. I believe it was Germany, before the Wright brothers did it.
It's possible. I mean, lots of people were trying at that time because it was an exciting thing, and it was, I guess, the invention of motors. As motors got smaller, things got more possible, and people were exploiting those opportunities.
And to be fair, maybe they didn't get the credit because it was a bit different. Because I believe they had like a hot air balloon with some sort of contraption that could control its flight path.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, okay, that doesn't count. So
It's
the
only
Wright
for Americans.
the Wright brothers actually number one. I don't think it counted for America until we put a gun on it. That's like the first thing that America did was put a gun on an airplane.
Probably.
Yeah. What is it? Are you familiar with that part of the story?
No, but I believe it.
As soon as they had a flight, as soon as word got around that the Wright brothers had something that could fly more than 11 feet, they got a call from the military,
Yeah.
and they said, we're going to send a general down, and we're going to have him fly with you guys. And their first flight with the general, they crashed. The general died. And
Oops.
I believe Oliver broke his arm or something.
Yeah,
But yeah.
could be. Well, that was around 1909, 1910, something like that.
Yeah.
And they were gearing up to World War II, and clearly having guns in the air beats having guns on the ground.
Yeah.
So I believe that story, sure.
I wish we could have more innovation for peace and understanding around the world. What would you say?
I'm in favor of it, absolutely.
Get any ideas for for something like that?
Uh,
Or is it more of a mindset thing?
it's a mindset, and it requires people scaling down. But there's wars going on right now.
Yeah, it's a scary time.
It is a scary time, an unpleasant time, in fact.
So how many wars have you been alive to remember vividly?
What a great question. Well, I was born in World War II.
Born during World War II.
I was born in 1944, and when I was born, the Germans were gassing Jews, putting them on trains and sending them out. It was about 6 weeks after D-Day that I was born, and in Normandy. And my mother's brother was in the army. He was on the ground in what was then France, because it was after the Battle of the Bulge, but before American troops crossed the Rhine, and he was killed in North France.
Oh wow.
And the reason my name is Edward instead of Charlie, my brother's named Charlie. It's a custom to name people after deceased relatives. And my mother's brother Charlie was deceased between my birth and my 3-year younger brother. So I don't personally remember World War II because I was too small.
Right.
But, and I don't remember the Korean War because, again, I was too young. But I remember, oh, you asked about wars, so I'm giving you these childhood memories of listening to the radio because television wasn't invented yet, or what certainly wasn't available. I remember hearing stories about Trieste. Trieste is a city that was between what is it's currently part of Slovenia, which is a fairly small country that's ex the former Yugoslavia. is now Slovenia, and it borders Italy. And Italy had a claim to Trieste, and Slovenia, or Yugoslavia, had a claim to Trieste, which was a city on the border, inhabited by a mix of Italians and Slovenians. And it was on the radio day after day after day. It was there was probably street to street fighting, and they were trying to de-escalate the fighting and come to some settlement. And they came to some settlement. It must have been that Trieste went to Slovenia, because Slovenia has it now. And there's a border. They're both in the EU, and you don't even have to pass a customs point to get between those borders. It's at total peace, and peace is possible. I'm in favor of it.
Peace is possible. It seems so rare these days.
Yeah.
So,
So my next, sorry, you asked for these flows of childhood memories. You get to edit this, I presume, before it goes.
Yes, sir. And we could also cut things out that you'd prefer to be.
Offended. It's just boring, I think.
No.
My grandson is fascinated by the USS Wisconsin, and he's on it right now. And I'm having a calm, cool time in the park with the shade tree while he's on the Wisconsin. So
I'm a fan of that.
I've got time to sit here and talk. My next childhood memory is Dien Bien Phu, which you probably don't remember because it's well before your time.
Very unfamiliar.
The French were fighting the Vietnamese in Bien Bien Phu, and they were getting clobbered because the Vietnamese, who were communists, were clobbering them, and it was still Eisenhower at the time, decided to help the French, and so he sent forces in to save Dien Bien Phu from the communists, and that was the start of our involvement in Vietnam.
And I do remember quite a bit. Well, not remember firsthand, obviously.
Yeah.
I heard stories that there was a lot of resistance to American involvement in Vietnam. That's correct, right?
Yes, there was a lot of resistance, and there were anti-war protests. It started slowly and grew and grew and grew. And some presidents get the hint that when you start slowly, wars grow, and some presidents don't get the hint that when you start slowly and wars grow.
Right.
So, so that was our start of Vietnam. So I remember Vietnam War in moderate detail. I avoided it because I was in graduate school, and there were deferments for people in graduate school, particularly if they were science majors. And I was a science major from a fairly small town, not small, a poor town in North Jersey, and there was plenty of cannon fodder in North Jersey, and cannon fodder. It's an old term for sending people out to get killed.
Oh.
Back when they had cannon that were killing people, you sent the poor out to get killed.
I've never heard that phrase.
It used to be a standard phrase in military stuff. It's worth looking up because it's an interesting phrase. You feed the cannon by giving them fodder, which is poor people, poor kids.
Wow, that's quite sad.
And it's quite sad. My town had a lot of poor kids, and they died in Vietnam.
So, how has the conversation changed around war? I imagine that now people have access to, whether it's correct or incorrect, I believe they have access to a lot more information, and it seems like here's like the real meat of the question. I think even right here in Norfolk, the opinions on the current war, it can be so split right here. I think if you ask 5 people, but I imagine what I'm curious of was there more of a unified opinion locally in those times because they had a singular source of information?
There was a lot of split opinions about the war, depending on where you were. Basically, college towns were pretty much against the war, and the red center of the country was pretty much for the war, and it's tough to be against the war when American troops are there fighting, because it wasn't the troops' fault that they were in the war, and the protesters wanted to bring them home, was the cry of the protesters. I think currently, you're right that there's a lot more information, but there's far more misinformation than there ever had been. In earlier wars, there was official misinformation, which wasn't as much misinformation as manipulated information.
Propaganda.
Propaganda is what it's called. There was the Gulf of Tonkin resolution because in Vietnam War, Johnson manipulated an attack on the USS Tonkin, as I remember it. There was a boat out someplace and it was attacked, and he manipulated that to. It was legitimately attacked, but he manipulated the significance of the attack to escalate the war in Vietnam. And Bush had his weapons of mass destruction to manipulate the evidence for going from Afghanistan, which was a legitimate target, into Iraq, which was a bad guy for sure, but not a legitimate war topic because they had, in fact, no weapons of mass destruction. And now that we clobbered Iraq, and it's now totally dysfunctional.
Right.
And we've had to go back in, and we didn't solve anything.
It's a hard pill to swallow as a country.
It's hard to swallow it as a country, and so we now had those buster bombs, the busted bombs, and the question is, did it stop Iran from nuclear from making more purified uranium? And the information is split. And the official information is anybody that says we didn't obliterate them is a liar and doing bad and misinformation. And that ain't true, because there are lots of legitimate sources that say you can't tell completely right now because it's only 2 days later. And it's pretty improbable to have had that good a hit to completely do it. But it's great propaganda.
All I know is like what I've seen. I don't know anything as fact. I know what people are trying to convince me of, but I know so little as fact. I don't know a single word in Farsi. I've never spoke to a single person in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of my opinions are admittedly formed out of ignorance. I just want to know more. But I wish objective information was easier to find.
Yeah. Well, when you're really into it, objective is a tough word because there's lots of unknown stuff.
Right.
And the most objective thing to say is we're not sure.
I would say objectively, people are being hurt and things like that.
That's certainly true.
But yeah.
And a lot of those people are Iranian and Gazan, for that matter, that are getting killed and hurt, and we're encouraging it or part of it.
Definitely involved, to say the least.
Yes, definitely involved. And there's no good guys. Oh, the great quote is, two wrongs don't make a right, but two rights sometimes are in conflict.
Two rights are sometimes in conflict.
Two rights can lead to wrongs. I mean, people disagree about what's right and what's their right.
Right.
And it ain't good.
That was a lot of interesting information about war. Perhaps we could transition into maybe a happier time in your life. Could you tell me about, let's say, a week? Maybe not the best day of your life. What's the best 5 to 7 days of your life that you had?
Well, I've had lots of best 5 to 7 days in my life. I've had dozens because I've led a good life, a happy life.
That's good to hear, by the way. I'll be honest, that is a very rare thing. So I'm happy for you, brother.
Well, my secret was I took the summers off. I was a teacher, and my wife and I very carefully saved money so I wouldn't have to scrape for part-time jobs during the summer, as most teachers do,
Right.
because teachers are underpaid relative to their worth. And so I took the summers off, and my wife and I took our children and we went camping across the country because camping is cheap and because her family is from Oregon.
Okay.
And so we had wonderful camping trips through the national parks and national forests of America.
Okay, so I was curious what the connection to Oregon was. I was like, okay, maybe they're skilled at camping. Now I see. It's like the landscape also.
The landscape is magnificent. The Oregon coast is the Pacific Ocean, which isn't like the Atlantic.
Right.
The mountains go right into the ocean. There are huge waves that come right up onto the beaches are way too cold to swim, except in Southern California.
I've only been to I've done the Pacific Coast Highway in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
And I know Los Angeles is kind of like, I didn't really understand what Los Angeles was until I went there, but apparently I was in not proper. But yeah, Santa Monica area and all that, I loved it.
Yeah, that's nice. But Pacific Crest Highway is or the hiking trail. That's what you're talking about.
Well, I was on the road, the Pacific
Oh,
Coast Highway.
oh, okay.
We took a bus over there actually.
Oh, okay. That's neat.
Yeah.
There's a Pacific Crest Trail that goes through the Rockies and is really magnificent, but I've never done it. The national parks are great. Utah is just magnificent. Some of my best weeks of my life have been in Utah. Let me recommend the Utah Route 24, called the most scenic road in America. And they advertised it as the second most scenic road in the world.
Really?
And you ask them, well, what's the most scenic road? And her answer is, there's a road in New Zealand that crosses the New Zealand mountains, and that beats theirs. But theirs is just through, it passes Bryce and Zion canyons. Bryce Canyon is spectacular and human scale. The Grand Canyon is spectacular and way too big. It's a 2-day hike down and a 2-day hike back, and it's hot, and it's just so enormous you can't imagine it. Bryce Canyon is like an hour's walk down if you walk slowly.
So a bit more manageable.
Way more manageable, and from my viewpoint, far more beautiful because you're actually there among all the pinnacles and the formations, and they're different colors as you go down the mountain, and there are multiple trails, and there are lots of places to sit, and there's some shade trees, which there aren't any in the Grand Canyon, and it's wonderful. Zion is also a magnificent national park, and if you keep heading east on that road, you come to Capitol Reef National Park.
Capitol Reef National Park.
An unknown gem is just these enormous steep-sided reefs that look like a boat, or that they look like the U.S. national capital, in fact, which is why it's named Capitol Reef.
Capitol Reef.
And it's fairly empty, and it's just spectacular. It's worth looking up.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. Capitol Reef in Utah Valley, right?
In Utah, state of Utah.
In the state of Utah. Great. So, perhaps to transition towards the end, is there anybody that you're incredibly proud of? Maybe an accomplishment that somebody you know has achieved that you would like to give credit to?
Sure, I'm proud of my daughter. She is the curator of Asian art at the Birmingham Museum of Arts in Birmingham, Alabama. And she has right now a magnificent exhibit of Indian silver that just opened last week.
Okay.
And it's a collection from Harish Patel of silver from all of India from 1830 to 1930. And there's lots of eating and drinking utensils for things like coffee and tea, chocolate, punch. All of these things were Indian origin or Indian developed. And sugar and spices, all kinds of spice things. And they're all on display there. And so this is a small advertisement for her exhibit. If you're in the Birmingham, Alabama area or can get there, it's worth a visit.
Wow. That is incredible. Thank you so much. And perhaps one last message, if you'd like to share, one last message to the world to hear.
Peace.
We love peace here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.